At the end of the day, let's be honest. The wealthy right now, what they're holding isn't fucking working.
No.
So if we can change where the wealth is being held, maybe we can make the system work.
You know what I think is going to be a great investment? Land with industrial warehouses on them that you can lease out to people that want to build a factory. I think that production will come back here. Welcome to the Trader Society podcast. I'm Grant Hardy, and I got my buddy Anthony here as always. And we're going to talk about something pretty interesting today. A little bit different outlook on the world and the Forex, Forex world, the economy. So
I'm hyped for this. I'm hyped for this.
Let's jump into this. So basically right now, we just had our first negative quarter, right, in a long time. And so now we have things that are technically, right, we're in a recession and interest rates are rising.
Yes.
And whenever you're looking at different prices, goods, commodities, stocks, right, equities, we're seeing a rise in these things, a fall in housing prices, oil's falling. So we're just going to talk about today on how this is going to be affecting, the outlook on the market and kind of how we see it. So, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm excited for this one, actually.
Yeah.
I might learn a thing or two.
Yeah.
I'll pull out my phone, have Google handy.
It's your best friend always.
Google.
Right. So they just raised interest rates, right?
It's 0.7 by 0.775.
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. So they raised interest rates. They're trying to get inflation, under control,
yeah.
Right? And so this is going to affect, the housing market. Things are going to be falling, or prices will be falling. It's going to be, more expensive to take out that loan. Credit is, more expensive, right? So what do you see happening as far as trading, pairs, U.S. dollar, right? Because other currencies around the world, like I think Britain just raised their interest rate. So now everyone's going to kind of follow the U.S. dollar, and it's a competition to see what's going to happen.
Personally, like what I see happening, and this might be like a little way too deep, but China and Russia just essentially they just partnered together, and they basically said that the dollar is not going to be the world currency anymore.
Right.
And so when that happens, and what they're doing is basically they're going to make precious metals and jewels and gold and silver the main backing, which I do think is old school. I agree. I think that's old school. I think the new backing should be Bitcoin, Ethereum, cryptocurrency, and stuff like that. So I think their model is old school, so I don't think it'll hold up like it used to 60, 70 years ago. But I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to basically put the dollar in a short squeeze.
Yes. So what's really scary about that as well is China, especially, right? We get their goods.
Mm-hmm.
And
all their goods.
Yeah, right. They
well, we can't live without China.
Right, exactly. We don't produce enough for us to be self-reliant.
Not that we don't produce enough. We chose not to produce enough. There's a very big difference. We could produce enough to survive and to live, but we chose not to.
Right. So we exported, right, all those, factories, businesses overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, not to get too political, but like your iPhone, right, is made into China. Practically everyone in the U.S. has an iPhone, but because it's made in China, it's still cheaper for us to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So to say like it's all bad that we're buying everything from China isn't necessarily true. Like that's capitalism, right? Competition, and the consumer chooses. If it was made here, it'd be extremely expensive and no one would buy it.
But that's only because there's no competition. So it's
right.
a revolving cycle.
Right.
We
so
could go back.
It's been an ongoing thing. But the point is, right, what's scary about that, right, we're raising interest rates here in the U.S. China and Russia, they're banding together. They want to do this other new currency thing. They have to
Which is smart.
Right, because right now the dollar...
I hate to say it, but it's smart.
Right, so the dollar's attached to all this debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what scares me about the dollar, we import their goods, and our number one export in the U.S. is dollars, right? So China, they're holding all these U.S. treasuries. What happens whenever they're like, we don't want this anymore? they're going
And
to
they
send
dump
them
'em.
right. They're going to send it back. So what would interest rates have to rise to then to slow that inflation? The only person to be able to take that on is the Fed, and they're just going to have to increase their balance
Fed or
sheet.
the churches. One of the two.
I will take it. So we're at a really weird time, and I don't know, maybe we won't be trading Forex.
See, I don't
in
think
a
we're at a
few
weird
years.
time.
Well, it's kind
like,
of
I think
cyclical, right?
It's
right.
a repetitive cycle. Like typically, I think it's like every I might be wrong, but it's like every 200 years, doesn't the power go from the west to the east?
Yeah, it's like it's a power
And
shift.
so right now, I just think, unfortunately, we were born in a time when the power is shifting.
Right.
We're born in a time where I truly believe in the next 10 years, America will probably be a third world country.
Right. Well, I mean, you can go to a lot of cities now, and it's kind of questionable.
So I'm saying we're probably going to be a third world country in the next 5 to 10 years.
But the thing is like, this country has still had tons of prosperity through the last, however many hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
We've been a world superpower.
It's not going to last forever.
No, and it doesn't last forever. And, we've been, with that prosperity comes, us taking, I guess, leisure, not caring, and,
Get
so
lazy.
things, right. So you get kind of lazy, and, like, oh, well, we can, it's a whole thing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But where do you think we will be trading Forex within the next 15, 20 years with everything? If the
No matter what, yes. And here's why I think so. I think if we're ever not trading Forex, we have a lot more problems and a lot more issues to worry about than fucking money. There's always going to be a commodity that needs to be traded.
For sure.
I mean,
We'll be trading.
You can still trade corn.
Trade corn.
You can trade coffee now. You can trade them still.
Right.
So so I do think we will still be trading. I just don't know if it's going to be like US dollar. Like, I mean, like,
Right.
you have USD fucking ZAR right now. You have USD Russian ruble. You have USD, like, there's so many pairs that most people don't even, know about. And I think those are great, but like, I just don't think the dollar is going to be a powerhouse anymore. I think the dollar, I think there's going to be one last run of the dollar, and they're going to pump the dollar up heavily.
So there's a theory on that. So there's the theory that the world would be like, screw the dollar, and they dump treasuries, and the dollar crashes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also something, I forget the guy's name, but it's called the dollar milkshake theory.
Yes.
And it's basically where the dollar, because it is the world reserve currency and it is attached to debt, the demand for dollars will be so high, right? Because that debt is still owed. So the dollar is going to go so high. Even all this debt overseas, it's still promised in dollars to be paid back.
Yes.
So that's another theory.
And when the United States comes, says, "Hey, I'm collecting," you have to pay.
Right.
So
it's like
even
a margin call kind of thing.
exactly. So even if China and Russia drop it, there's still hundreds of other countries that are going to have to pay back that
Right.
debt.
And then they have to, at the end of the day as well, right? They still
Or
have
with
to,
goods.
Right. They still have to have trade deals with other countries to buy their goods.
Mhm.
So to say for that kind of a move to be like, you know what, we're dumping U.S. treasuries, I think it's unlikely, and that's a very bad, scary scenario.
I don't think it's unlikely, though. I really don't think it's unlikely, because I think they're both at a point where they're going to sit back and they're going to, I think personally, you're going to see Russia keep attacking Ukraine. You're going to see China attack Taiwan, and they're going to create such an urgency. And then in the midst of that urgency, they're going to then drop the dollar, and they're going to become a powerhouse together. And then in that midst of dropping the dollar in the middle of the war, you're going to have to pick a side. And that's like essentially what's going to happen. And I mean, call me a fool, but U.S. saved them once. I don't think the U.S. is going to be able to save them again, save the world again.
I don't know. Well, I feel like people here especially, they don't, want another war. Like,
we don't want another war.
No.
We don't want to fight. We don't want to stand up. We don't want to do that. We're more worried about fighting our own government. You have fucking Pelosi going to fucking Taiwan right now when China's sitting here saying that we're going to fucking nuke the United States if you fucking go to Taiwan. And Pelosi hops on a little fucking private jet and goes to fucking Taiwan. And every fucking person in America sitting back saying, why the fuck are you getting involved in that right now?
When can I buy her trading course?
If you have not known, Nancy Pelosi is coming out with a trading course. It is $12, and she is fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal. No. But do you see what I'm saying though? It's like she went to Taiwan, and I think she's in Hong Kong now. I think she went to Hong Kong after. I might be wrong on that, but she went from Taiwan to Hong Kong.
I don't know. I don't care what Nancy Pelosi's doing.
I don't either, but at the same time, it's just like there comes a point where like, honestly, like there has to come a point where fucking people stand up and fucking stop listening to this shit and doing it. And in America, we have to do that, because if not, we're gonna get dragged into this fucking war. It's about to fucking happen.
Well, okay. So looking past that, because that's a little off topic, right?
A little bit.
So
but that affects the market.
It does, right? So that's my point. Where do you see opportunity from all of this? What's happening right now? Where's your opportunity? In it doesn't have to even be trading related. It could be like, oh, we're about to experience another huge real estate boom. I don't know. What would you say?
Personally, what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do, this is not investing advice, obviously. What we're doing and what I'm doing is I am collecting as much cash as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm liquidating. I sold the McLaren. I'm selling the Ferrari. I'm selling pretty much, besides gold and silver, selling all my assets that I don't need to survive, don't need to live. I'm selling all of them. I'm stacking cash. Because here's the thing. Let's say that China, Russia drop the dollar, and then we have to go to a new standard. They're going to have to transfer your wealth somewhere.
Right.
You cannot just like, do you think Bill Gates, do you think all these fucking billionaires are going to come up and say, I have $5 billion in the United States dollars and you just fucking dumped it? No. Mm-mm. It's not going to happen that way. They're going to have to transfer that wealth. So what I'm doing is I'm cashing out. I'm cashing everything in. I'm stacking as much cash as possible. And then in the meantime, I've learned that there's a perfect balance. It's called odds. That's how I trade. I play the odds game. When I'm trading, I play the odds. There's going to be a time where the housing market's crashing at the same time. Dollar's still rising. Dollar's still rising right now. So my dollars are becoming worth more. My assets are becoming worth less. So I'm cashing out my assets. I'm collecting dollars. Right. And then right before the shift happens again, because I'm watching the dollar, I'm going to then buy assets.
Right.
With that dollar that I just cashed out. I'm going to go buy houses. You're looking at houses that were $1.3, $1.4, $1.5 million.
They're coming down.
In Flagstaff, in the last 30 days, they've dropped to $150,000, $200,000, $300,000.
Right.
So these assets are going to keep coming down.
And that could start a chain reaction as well, where people are like, oh, I'm losing equity. Like, maybe I should sell now. Yes. And then all of a sudden, now you have a surplus of housing instead of, more demand.
What we do in Arizona now.
Right.
We have a surplus. That's why housing prices are going down. Because every time we've gone over 12% of houses inside of Arizona up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime we've ever gone over that, there's been a housing market crash.
Right.
Right now, I think we're at like 16% of houses are for sale.
Right.
So that's why they're coming down.
So like we have inflation right now, and they're raising interest rates,
mm-hmm.
right? To slow inflation. But I don't think
it's a short-term fix.
Well, not even that. I don't think it's that bad. Number one.
Wait, what's not that bad?
Inflation right now. Okay, 9-10% is bad, but hear me out, right? Hear me out. I don't think it's that bad compared to the money that's been printed. So I think, yeah, we have inflation, but I think we're going to have big deflation before really big inflation.
Hyperinflation.
So think of this, right? With inflation, more money in the economy, more money being spent. Raise interest rates. People sell their assets. Prices crash. Now people are holding on to cash. Big deflation. Well, now inflation and hyperinflation has something to do with something called the velocity of money. And that's where a dollar is exchanged, how fast it goes from me to you, how fast are dollars being exchanged through the economy. You have all this money sitting on the sidelines that it's just been printed, that's been made, through HELOCs and they're cashing out this, cashing out that, doing what you're doing, right? What happens after the big deflation comes and the money comes and floods the market? I don't think we're just going to have a bull run. I think it will end up causing hyperinflation. And
a bull run will cause hyperinflation?
Because of all the money sitting on the sidelines, right? And, you know, like it doesn't matter how much money they print if it's not being spent, right? So, but once that money comes back, that's whenever things could get interesting. So you're doing the right thing, I think, right now. And I think we are going to have big deflation before.
You just got to time it right. And you can't be afraid to lose.
Not even time.
It's timing it right, I think.
Yeah, you just be patient. You'll know.
Yeah.
You'll know. And like, you know, like.
It's like we were looking at houses to buy, and it's like, the market's going to crash. And then now you're looking at it, it's like houses are coming down 10%.
But this is the thing about a housing crash, right? Housing crashes, and all of a sudden interest rates are high, and that's why homes crash. Well, now your payment's still going to be
the same,
right? It's still going to be high every month because the interest is more. Now you could always refinance later, but because it's high, now you have a more selected few buyers that can actually buy the house. That can be, you know, they can qualify to buy. So credit dries up.
It goes exactly back to what we say. Always competition breeds the best government. It's why communists never work. That's why communism never worked.
What does that have to do with housing?
Because competition.
Well, yeah. So like
that's what I'm saying. Is like it always goes back to competition.
Right, but
because you have less people being able to or want to pay those interest rates.
Exactly.
So therefore, there's no competition in the market.
Right. So they're gonna buy it. People with the cash will buy it up, and then the only way to start inflating those houses again, because there's so much money that's being traded on the back end through, you know, what is it? Was it CDOs or collateral? No. I can't remember, but you know, like the Big Short, right? Where they're packaging these loans and trading them, whatever, right? There's so many, they're going to have to lower interest rates. And I think it's going to I think we're going to go to negative interest rates where they're going to charge you to keep your money in the bank.
You very well could see it. You very well could see that.
And I think Japan already has it.
Did they?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I'd have to look that one up. I got Google.
Let's look it.
Which is insane to think about. But I mean, I actually don't think that's a bad idea.
So, okay.
Because I don't think it's bad for someone to hold your money. Like I think I don't think like personally, but that's also me. I don't think banks. I think you should pay to have a bank.
Why? But banks loan out your money already.
Well, but I'm saying they shouldn't be doing that either. I'm saying what
That's how it works.
I know, but like.
Now they're gonna take your money, charge you for it, and loan it out.
Then don't keep your money in a fucking bank. Your money should never be in a fucking bank to begin with.
That's right. So
buy Bitcoin.
So then, how much money should you keep in the bank in cash? Especially being a business.
Japan adopted a negative interest rates in 2016, an effort to combat decades of deflation by encouraging borrowing and spending. But the BOJ has struggled for years to meet its elusive inflation target, preventing the central banks from raising rates back to normal levels.
Right, because they've been a deflationary economy.
Wow, Switzerland, Denmark, Sweden, and Japan.
Yep.
All below zero.
I think it's the first time in history that we've ever had.
It just shows you that our modern day money and banking system doesn't work.
Well, no. Okay, so this is my theory, because I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. You know, we're all trading Forex. This is what we're learning, right? And like understanding our money and how it works, I think is important as well if you're going to trade it. Like if you're going to be in this industry, you need to learn and know it, right?
Understand what money actually is.
Right. So money is dead, as we know. We have a fiat currency. And then you have...
Most people don't know that. Repeat that. Most people actually do not know that. Repeat that.
Money is debt, right? Anytime a dollar is printed, that dollar is attached to debt. It's paid back with interest, right?
Typically backed by something.
But it's not. We're on a fiat standard. We went off in the 70s. Nixon took us off because the government couldn't pay back the debt. I think it was for the Vietnam War, right? So they did what all governments do. Go to a fiat system. Now they can just print the money for the debt, right? Take out a loan to pay back the debt. then they tax us, right? We pay everything back, blah, blah, blah. Now, some people are like, well, it's horrible. They're stealing your money through inflation, this and that. And I agree. And this comes down, like a lot of libertarians, Republicans, whatever, they're always, anti-central banking. But the thing is, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, one thing with central banking and, having this fiat global trading system that we have, and we have experienced more technological and economic growth through debt.
Yeah.
Faster. Like with the ability of
leveraging
credit, more so than, I get it, have a gold system, something backing it. But the economic growth compared to that and the technological growth compared to that is unmatchable. Think of what we've done since 1970 until now.
I mean, I agree with that 100%. And here's my...
It does hurt everyday people.
It does. And here's my theory, though. Here's my theory, and here's my thoughts on this. And I'm going to say this, and this is very loosely, and I've learned a lot of this from you in my own research. But I personally think I have two theories on this. And number one, it's that if you can't afford it cash, you should not buy it. So I agree, in my standpoint is that. But I also understand the power of debt. And this is where I don't like this. And this is where I think this theory works. And it's going to sound bad, but I think that banks' interest rates should be high.
Yeah, they should.
Massively high.
Well, they should be market set, not artificially set.
I personally think it should be 10, 15%. Massive interest rates.
But you have to have a reason to justify that.
But what it does create is this. Yes, I agree. But what it does create is it creates an opportunity. It creates an opportunity for someone that has made a ton of money to come in and then say, I'm going to lower my interest. I'm going to offer privatized loans to individuals because I believe in that. And not just a bank. That's the problem, is that the person that's controlling your money is also controlling your loans.
Oh, yeah.
You should have it set to where the person that is controlling your money cannot control your loans, but there's other companies and other businesses and other people that control the loans.
Right. There's competition.
Private lenders.
Market set rates.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so it's like if you had your bank offering you 15%, but then you can go out there and say, look, the bank's offering me 15%. And they would say, okay, well, I'll give it to you for 10.
Right.
You're going to go with that person that's going to give you 10%.
Right.
But then that keeps your loan out of them. But then the person that has the ton of cash can do that. They can float that. They can do that loan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think that the system needs to head to, is that it's by creating competition and people and businesses and opportunities for individuals to make money, not a fucking central bank or feds.
I think it's also, so originally, right, how it was set up was Congress controlled our money. I think it was called the greenback system. Maybe we can Google that. But Congress controlled our money, right? And then the Federal Reserve Act came in. They took over, yada, yada, yada.
That was in the early 1900s, wasn't it?
1913.
Wasn't
the Federal Reserve Act was signed.
I thought it was 413, yeah.
One of those, right?
It's crazy.
It's crazy. So where was I going with this?
That I do not know.
I had a very strong direction. So whenever you have the central, right, whenever you have a central bank, whenever you have gold, right, so China and Russia, they want to, use gold as a backing, as a commodity. You say it's old school, but is it? So the Federal Reserve came in, the Federal Reserve Act, they took over our money. And then people were depositing their gold, and then they were getting, this dollar is redeemable in 1 ounce of silver. Well, what happens is they start printing more silver and gold notes than there is gold and silver, and eventually have a run on the banks. And it happened in, was it the early 1920s or 1917? Happened here in the U.S. There was a recession. It was a bad one. It was almost worse than the Great Depression. People don't know about it. But it recovered so quickly because there was what's called laissez-faire, where the government didn't get involved. So the economy naturally came back and recovered because people, when things are bad, you're like, okay, I got to fix this, right? Because people are like, it's relied upon yourself. Well, when the Great Depression happened, the government came in and they set, new rules, regulations, this, that, trying to save the day. I think it was Eisenhower who signed the New Deal and, bailing stuff out. Like, people weren't as held accountable. And so it took longer and an entire world war to get out of. So it was a lot worse. So the point is it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter.
I think if they just get it, not be involved.
That's my point, and that's why I think crypto. And I've been a huge gold advocate and silver. Like, I have gold and silver, and I think everyone should, just in case. But that's why I think Bitcoin is going to be the future, because you and I can just decide to use it. We don't need to go to the bank for it.
We don't need a fucking government to tell us what to do.
So I think it's going to be really important to learn how to trade Bitcoin, is my point of all of this, right? And I think I want to start focusing more on how to trade it.
Trade cryptocurrencies?
Cryptocurrencies.
The thing is they're all traded against the dollar.
No, they're not.
Well, they're not, but
you can trade them against each other.
You can, but they don't move like that. Because they all go and they're all kind of in sync right now.
Learn.
Shit, I guess we're learning something fucking new then. I don't know. Maybe we're learning something new. And I agree with you. I agree with you on that. It's just, I'm excited. I'm not excited. I'm scared. I'm a little nervous to where the world is heading right now, especially the United States, because we saw it happen in Venezuela.
Right.
They went from the number 2 country in the world,
right,
to now fucking literally just walking in the streets killing people.
Right.
And this only happened within 15 years?
Not even. It happens quick.
And so what scares me is that, not trying to be political, but and I'm not even saying that who we vote in office matters. It's just until you actually learn what's happening, until you actually learn what's going on in the system and what people are doing with their money and how they're doing it with their money, and you actually have a good heart and you be a true person, be a genuine person, and help your friends, help your neighbors, and help everyone grow, this shit's not going to change. You have to have a change in yourself. People have to change in order for the government to change. Yeah. There's a reason why the 3%ers won.
Right.
Because it doesn't take many of us to change.
Right. Knowledge and taking care of yourself and family and building, community of friends
and sharing
and
that knowledge.
Right. Like we have here is extremely important. And I'm going to add one last thing before we wrap this up. And it has to do with, the similarities of the US and the fall of Rome. Rome, right, they were this huge empire across Europe. And, how did they fall? Well, they failed under hyperinflation. And what they were doing is people had their coins, right? And then the government needed more money to, finance what they were doing and expand their empire. So what they would do is they would have people turn in their money, and then they would dilute the gold and silver with tin, copper, aluminum, all these worthless metals. And then till eventually there was just too much, and their country or their empire literally fell under hyperinflation. It's kind of
what's happening right now.
Very similar to what's happening now. So knowledge is your friend, and we are at an interesting time, and we hold more debt than ever before, and more money is being printed, which means more debt will come.
This is not just the negative conversations. Actually, if you know what you're doing, you can come out of this on top.
Yes, there's a huge wealth transfer.
It's happening currently.
Yes.
The biggest wealth shift. And I mean, you can see that everywhere.
Yep.
The
biggest opportunities ever are coming.
Mm-hmm. And to become not just extremely wealthy, but extremely understanding and knowledgeable and smart. And then if at the end of the day, let's be honest, the wealthy right now, what they're holding isn't fucking working. No. So if we can change where the wealth is being held, maybe we can make the system work.
You know what I think is going to be a great investment? land with industrial warehouses on them that you can lease out to people that want to build a factory. I think that production will come back here.
It's gonna have to.
We're gonna have to.
Mhm.
Especially, I think,
Especially when we no longer can do it. If we're in a war with China, what do you think China's gonna do? First thing, what do you think?
They're gonna cut off our resources, right?
Not just, but here's the thing: it's fucking smart. If we go to war with China, which Taiwan, and that all this is happening, right? Reality, think about it. What's the first thing they're gonna cut off? What do you think they're gonna cut off?
Probably medicine.
Medicine. Exactly. They're gonna cut off medicine to where we can no longer provide our sick with the proper things.
We're a very sick country.
And we're
Yes.
obese, we are fat, we are fucking the worst of the worst.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm telling you,
Mm-hmm.
empty warehouses, lease them out.
Damn, we should have bought that one in Freeport.
Well, maybe this real estate crash is coming. That's right. Well, on that sad note, I think we're gonna end this podcast. We should have bought the warehouse.
Should have bought the fucking warehouse.
Oh, but well,
I'm dead.
if you like this podcast, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, leave your comments. We got Anthony Grant. Remember to follow him on Instagram.
Yep.
What is
Underscore Anthony's World underscore.
And I'm underscore Grant Hardy. And
Also follow Trader Society
Yes.
official. We are putting out funny videos left and right. We're just having fun. And also, if you want to be involved in our trade ideas, our trade alerts, live education, signals, everything along those lines, go ahead over and go to tradersociety.com and be a part of us. And you get to hear this. We get to hear us talk shit, basically, all the time. You get to hear us have fun and do what we do. So
Cool.
I love it.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next time.
Peace.